The text message from Mom made my blood run cold. Carrie's done something with Grandma's inheritance money. Come home now. I'm Stephanie, and at 28, I thought I was finally breaking free from my brother's shadow. Guess I was wrong. The drive home felt like entering a battlefield. Mom was waiting on the front porch, wringing her hands. Never a good sign. Before I could even get out of my car, she rushed down the steps. He transferred it all, she blurted out. Every penny of Grandma's inheritance. He convinced the lawyer it was what she wanted. What? My voice came out sharper than intended. How is that even possible? Your brother can be persuasive when he wants something. Mom's eyes darted away, the same look she'd given me throughout childhood whenever Carrie got his way. I pushed past her into the house, my heels clicking against the hardwood floors Grandma had loved so much. The family photos lining the hallway seemed to mock me. Carrie's graduation, Carrie's wedding, Carrie's first business venture. And there, almost hidden behind the others, a single photo of me. Where is he? I demanded. At the country club with Ivy. Mom's voice trembled. Stephanie, please don't. Don't what, Mom? Don't make a scene? Don't upset precious Carrie? I spun around to face her. That money was meant for both of us. Grandma specifically said, I know, honey. I know. My phone buzzed. A text from Carrie. Hey sis, heard you're at Mom's. Join us for drinks? Ivy and I have exciting news. Exciting news, I muttered. I bet. Mom touched my arm. Maybe you should go. Talk to him calmly. Fine. I grabbed my purse. But I'm not promising calm. The country club was Carrie's natural habitat, all polished marble and fake smiles. I spotted them immediately, Carrie in his designer suit, Ivy draped over him like expensive jewelry. Stephanie, Carrie's voice boomed across the lobby. Perfect timing. I plastered on my best fake smile. Carrie, Ivy. We just closed on our dream house, Ivy squealed, flashing her massive engagement ring. The one on Maple Drive. My stomach dropped. Maple Drive, the most expensive street in town. The pieces clicked into place. Congratulations, I managed. Must have cost a fortune. Carrie's smile widened. Sometimes opportunities just fall into your lap, right, sis? Like Grandma's inheritance? The words shot out before I could stop them. His expression didn't even flicker. Oh, that? Just following her wishes. She always said the money should go to expanding the family business. Your business, I corrected. The one that's failed 3 times. 4th time's the charm. He laughed, but his eyes were cold. Besides, what would you have done with it? Open another failed boutique? Ivy shifted uncomfortably. Carrie, maybe we should— No, let him talk. I leaned forward. Tell me more about Grandma's wishes, the ones she apparently only shared with you. Look, Steph. Carrie's voice dropped to a whisper. We both know you were never good with money. I'm doing you a favor. I stood up so fast my chair scraped against the floor. Several heads turned our way. A favor? My voice shook. You stole my inheritance to buy a house with your trophy wife, and you're calling it a favor. Keep your voice down, Carrie hissed. You're embarrassing yourself. No, you've done enough embarrassing for both of us. I grabbed my purse. Enjoy your house, Carrie. I hope it was worth it. As I stormed out, I heard Ivy ask, What inheritance? Good question, Ivy. Very good question. Back in my car, I gripped the steering wheel until my knuckles turned white. My phone buzzed with a text from Reginald, my oldest friend. Heard what happened. Come over. I might have some interesting information about your sister-in-law's finances. I stared at the message, a plan already forming in my mind. Carrie had always been the golden child, the successful one, the one who could do no wrong. But maybe it was time for little sister to step out of the shadows. I started the car, a smile playing on my lips. Carrie wasn't the only Sullivan who could be persuasive when they wanted something. Game on, big brother. Game on. Reginald's apartment always smelled like coffee and old books. Tonight, it also reeked of opportunity. "You're not going to believe this," he said, spinning his laptop around. "Ivy's been keeping secrets from your brother." I leaned forward, squinting at the screen. "A private savings account?" "With quite a healthy balance." Reginald tapped the screen. "Nearly identical to your inheritance, actually. Funny coincidence, isn't it?" "How did you even find this?" "I handle accounts at the bank, remember?" He shrugged. "Ivy came in last week acting nervous, started asking about hidden accounts and wire transfers. Got me curious." I sank into his leather couch. "Carrie has no idea, does he?" "Not a clue. He thinks she's completely dependent on him." Reginald's eyes sparkled. "But here's the interesting part. She's been siphoning money from her family's business for years. It's all perfectly legal, but Carrie would lose his mind if he knew." I finished my coffee, mind racing. He's always bragging about being the breadwinner. My phone buzzed. A text from Anne, my former business mentor. "Heard about the inheritance. Come by the shop tomorrow. Have a proposition for you." Speaking of business, I showed Reginald the text. He raised an eyebrow. "Anne Steele? The woman who owns half the boutiques downtown?" "The very same." I stood up, suddenly energized. "I need to go, but first, can you get me more details about Ivy's account?" "Stephanie." His voice held a warning. "What are you planning?" "Nothing illegal." I grabbed my purse. "Just a little karmic redistribution." The next morning, Anne's boutique was already bustling with customers. She waved me into her office, closing the door behind us. "You look terrible," she said bluntly. "Thanks, it's been a rough week." "I know, that's why I called." She pulled out a folder. "Remember that business plan you showed me last year? The one about sustainable fashion?" I nodded. It had been my dream project before Carrie's last investment opportunity had drained my savings. "I want to back it." Anne slid the folder across her desk. "Full funding, my connections, everything." My heart skipped. "What's the catch?" "No catch. Just tired of watching talent go to waste." She leaned back. "But I need you all in. No distractions, no family drama." I opened the folder, scanning the numbers. They were better than I'd imagined. "There's just one problem," I said slowly. "I need startup capital immediately, before you'll see any returns." "That's not how I work." "I know." I met her eyes. "But I have a plan, a way to get the initial investment myself." Anne studied me for a long moment. "Does this plan have anything to do with your brother?" "Indirectly." I hesitated. "What if I told you I could access funds equal to what he stole from me?" "I'd say be careful." She stood up. "But I'd also say karma's a beautiful thing." Back home, I called Reginald. "I've got the account details," he said without preamble. "But Stephanie, this is risky." "Riskier than what Carrie did to me?" "Different kind of risk." He sighed. "The transfer would be legal. You just need Ivy's authorization. But if she finds out, she won't." I paced my living room. "Not until it's too late. Not until I've built something Carrie can't tear down." "You sound like him when you talk like that." The words stung, but I pushed through. "No, I sound like someone who's finally fighting back. Can you help me or not?" "I'll send you the forms." His voice softened. "Just promise me you know what you're doing." "Trust me," I said, watching the sunset paint my walls gold. "For once in my life, I know exactly what I'm doing." My phone lit up with a text from Mom. "Family dinner next month. Carrie and Ivy want to show off the new house. Please come." Perfect timing. I typed back a quick, "wouldn't miss it." Opening my laptop, I pulled up the business plan I'd shown Anne, the one Carrie had laughed at last year. Nobody wants sustainable fashion in this town, he'd said. Stick to what you know, nothing. Well, big brother, I thought as I started updating the numbers, let's see who's laughing at the next family dinner. I worked late into the night, fueled by coffee and determination. When I finally went to bed, I dreamed of revenge served on a silver platter, garnished with success and just a hint of poetic justice. Tomorrow, I'd start the process of accessing Ivy's account. By the time anyone realized what had happened, I'd have transformed her hidden savings into a thriving business, one that would make Carrie's latest venture look like a child's lemonade stand. Sometimes karma needs a little push, and I was ready to push hard. Sign here and here, Reginald pointed at the forms. Remember, you're technically acting as Ivy's proxy. My hand trembled slightly as I forged her signature. 3 weeks had passed since discovering her secret account, and everything was falling into place. How long until the transfer completes? 24 hours. He glanced around his empty office. After that, you'll have access to the full amount. I slid the papers back across his desk. And you're sure this will work? As long as you move fast. He lowered his voice. The boutique lease is ready? Anne pulled strings. I get the keys tomorrow. I stood up, smoothing my skirt. Speaking of which, the downtown storefront was everything I'd dreamed of. Floor-to-ceiling windows, exposed brick walls, and enough space to showcase my entire sustainable fashion line. Anne met me outside, keys dangling from her finger. Your contractors can start Monday, she said, unlocking the door. We'll have you ready for a soft opening in 6 weeks. Perfect timing for the family dinner. Anne shot me a look. You're really going to reveal everything then? Why not? Carrie loves an audience. I ran my hand along the smooth counter. He should appreciate the dramatic flair. My phone buzzed. Carrie calling. I let it go to voicemail. Still avoiding him? Anne asked. Just focusing on what matters. I pulled out my tablet showing her the designs. The first collection is ready for production. Sustainable materials, local manufacturing. Everything he said wouldn't work. Anne smiled. You know, revenge looks good on you. The next few weeks passed in a blur. I threw myself into the work, barely sleeping. The money from Ivy's account funded everything: inventory, renovations, marketing. Every decision felt like a step closer to victory. One afternoon, while overseeing the installation of display cases, Mom called. Carrie's bragging about some big announcement at dinner next week, she said. Something about expanding his business nationally. Is he now? I watched workers hang my store's sign. Evolved, sustainable style. Well, I might have some news, too. Stephanie? Mom's voice turned cautious. Please don't start anything. Me? Never. I ended the call as Reginald walked in, whistling low. This place looks amazing, he said, turning slowly. But we have a problem. My stomach dropped. What kind of problem? Ivy came to the bank today, asked about account statements. Did she notice? Not yet, but she will. He grabbed my arm. You need to launch before she does. I nodded, already pulling up my contacts. Anne, we need to move up the opening. How fast can you get your people here? The next 5 days were chaos. I barely slept, coordinating deliveries, training staff, finalizing details. Every time my phone rang, I expected it to be Ivy, or worse, Carrie. But the calls never came. The night before the family dinner, I stood in my completed store. The lights were dim, but I could see everything clearly. The carefully curated collections, the eco-friendly packaging, the sleek displays. My dream built with Carrie's stolen inheritance money, funded by his wife's secret savings. Reginald appeared beside me. Ready for tomorrow? Almost. I handed him an invitation. Grand opening next week. I want you there. Wouldn't miss it. He paused. You know this could all blow up in your face. Worth it. I locked the store's front door. Besides, Carrie taught me well. Sometimes you have to take big risks. At home, I laid out my outfit for dinner, a piece from my own collection, of course. The price tag was still attached, higher than anything Carrie would expect his little sister to afford. My phone lit up with a text from Ivy. Excited to see you tomorrow. Carrie's been so mysterious about his announcement. I smiled, typing back. Can't wait. I have some exciting news too. Setting my alarm, I tried to sleep but couldn't. Tomorrow would change everything. Carrie would finally see me as competition, not just his kid sister who needed saving. Ivy would discover her missing savings, transformed into something she'd never imagined. And me? I'd finally step out of the shadows, proving that sometimes the best revenge isn't just success, it's success built on someone else's secrets. The last thing I saw before falling asleep was my store's logo, glowing on my phone screen. Tomorrow, the real game would begin. And this time, I was playing to win. Carrie and Ivy's new house was exactly what you'd expect. All marble countertops and crystal chandeliers. The kind of place that screamed, "Look how much money we have." Stephanie! Ivy rushed to hug me. That outfit is gorgeous. Is it designer? Something like that. I smoothed the sustainable silk dress. You could say I'm intimately familiar with the brand. Mom appeared from the kitchen, tension written all over her face. Carrie's just opening the wine. Come help me with the appetizers. In the kitchen, Carrie was holding court, champagne bottle in hand. The expansion plans are already in motion. By next quarter, we'll have offices in 3 states. Fascinating. I grabbed a cheese plate. And the funding? His smile flickered. All taken care of. Speaking of which, sis, how's the job hunt going? Oh, I've been busy with a new venture myself. Really? He popped the cork. Another boutique idea? Before I could respond, Ivy called everyone to the dining room. The table was set with what looked like new china, probably bought with my inheritance money. Before we eat, Carrie stood raising his glass. I have an announcement. Here we go. Thanks to some recent investments, he glanced at me. Our company is going national. We've just secured the Maple Drive property for our headquarters. Mom gasped. The whole building? All 6 floors. Carrie beamed. And that's not all. Ivy, honey, show them. Ivy stretched out her hand, displaying a massive new diamond ring. Carrie surprised me with it yesterday, an early anniversary gift. My grip tightened on my water glass. That ring probably cost as much as my first inventory order. How generous, I managed. Must have been expensive. When you're successful, Carrie winked, money's just a tool. Speaking of tools, I muttered under my breath. What was that, sis? I said, speaking of success, I reached for my phone. Maybe now's a good time to share my news. Carrie's phone buzzed before I could continue. His face lit up as he read the message. Hold that thought, Steph. Everyone, the deal just closed. We're officially taking over the Wilson account. Mom clapped. Ivy squealed. I felt my moment slipping away. That's wonderful, dear, Mom gushed. Isn't it wonderful, Stephanie? Thrilling. I pushed my food around. Almost as thrilling as embezzlement. The table went quiet. What did you say? Carrie's voice was dangerously low. Nothing. I smiled sweetly, just thinking out loud about financial management. Ivy shifted in her seat. Maybe we should talk about something else. Why? I leaned forward. Afraid of discussing money, Ivy? Or just certain accounts? Stephanie, Mom warned. Carrie stood up, his chair scraping the floor. If you have something to say it. Not yet. I stood too, gathering my purse. But soon, very soon. Where are you going? Mom called after me. To finish setting up my new store. You know, the one Carrie thinks is just another failed boutique idea. Store? Ivy's voice cracked. What store? I paused at the door. You should come to the opening next week, both of you. I think you'll find the funding story particularly interesting. Carrie's face reddened. What are you playing at? Me? I'm just following your example, big brother, using money as a tool. I opened the door. Oh, and Ivy, you might want to check your bank statements. The look of confusion on her face was priceless. The panic starting to dawn in Carrie's eyes was even better. Outside, my phone exploded with texts. Mom, what have you done? Carrie, this isn't over. Reginald, Ivy just called the bank. Anne, store's ready. Time to light the fuse. I drove straight to Evolved, unlocking the front door and breathing in the smell of new clothes and fresh paint. In less than a week, this place would be full of customers and questions and revelations. My phone rang. Ivy. Hey, sis. I answered cheerfully. Something wrong with your accounts? How did you? She stopped. What did you do? Why don't you ask your husband about stealing inheritances? Then maybe we can talk about missing savings. I hung up as another text came through, this one from Carrie. You're making a big mistake. No, big brother. The mistake was thinking you could keep me in the shadows forever. The real show hasn't even started yet. I turned on the store lights, watching them reflect off the windows. Tomorrow, the local business magazine would run their feature on Evolved. Sustainable fashion meets local innovation. Carrie's expansion news wouldn't seem quite so impressive then. Sometimes revenge is best served under bright lights, with a side of public humiliation. The magazine hit newsstands at 7 a.m. By 8, my phone wouldn't stop ringing. Have you seen it? Anne's voice was gleeful. Your brother's going to lose his mind. I held up the glossy pages, admiring the spread. The photographer had captured Evolved perfectly. Modern, elegant, sustainable. The headline read, Local designer revolutionizes fashion scene with $1 million investment. Page 6 is my favorite, Anne continued, where they compare your projected earnings to other local businesses, including Carrie's company. My other line beeped, Mom calling. Again. I have to go, I told Anne. The fallout starting. I switched calls. Hi, Mom. The magazine, Stephanie? Really? She sounded tired. Carrie's been calling all morning. Ivy's hysterical. Why? Because someone finally beat him at his own game? Because her savings are gone. Mom's voice cracked. How could you? A sharp knock interrupted us. Through the store's windows, I saw Ivy standing outside, clutching the magazine. I'll call you back. I opened the door. Ivy stormed in, her designer heels clicking against the hardwood floors. You stole my money. She slapped the magazine down on the counter. My private savings. Like Carrie stole my inheritance? That was different. She ran her hands through her hair. That money was my security, my backup plan. Backup plan? I raised an eyebrow. Trouble in paradise? Don't. She glanced around the store, taking in the displays. How did you even access the account? The same way Carrie accessed Grandma's money, carefully planned paperwork. I moved behind the counter. Though I have to ask, does my brother know about your little embezzlement scheme? Ivy paled. You wouldn't. Try me. Look, she lowered her voice. We can fix this. I won't press charges if you return the money. I laughed. Return it? It's all here. I gestured around the store. Invested in inventory, equipment, marketing, just like Carrie invested my inheritance in your house. That house is our future. And this store is mine. I picked up the magazine. By the way, have you read page 6? The part about projected earnings? She grabbed the magazine, flipping pages frantically. Her eyes widened. This can't be right. These numbers are completely accurate. I smiled. Turns out sustainable fashion is pretty profitable. Who knew? Carrie will destroy you. Carrie can try. I walked to the door. But first, he'll have to explain to you why he needed your secret savings to fund his expansion. What are you talking about? Check his business accounts, the timing of certain transfers. I held the door open, and maybe ask him about the Wilson account he was so excited about last night. Ivy's phone buzzed. She glanced at it, frowning. That's probably the bank, I said. They're very thorough with their fraud investigations. Fraud? Her voice shook. Well, what else would you call using embezzled money to fund a business expansion? I shrugged. But hey, I'm sure Carrie can explain everything. She rushed out, already dialing. Through the window, I watched her pace the sidewalk, gesturing wildly. My phone pinged with a text from Reginald. Carrie's at the bank. He knows. Perfect timing. I typed back. How long until he figures out the Wilson account connection? Minutes, maybe less. Another text came through, this one from Carrie. My office, now. I smiled, grabbing my purse. Time for the final act. The elevator ride to Carrie's office felt like ascending to a showdown. His secretary took one look at me and pointed to his door. You've lost your mind, he said as I entered. Funny, I was about to say the same thing about your expansion plans. I sat down uninvited. Using Ivy's stolen money? That's risky, even for you. You don't know what you're talking about. No, I pulled out my phone. Should we call the Wilson account managers? Ask them about the mysterious funding that appeared right after you accessed Ivy's account? Carrie's face went from red to white. How did you? The same way I knew about the inheritance theft. I stood up. The difference is, I'm not hiding my moves. You're bluffing. Check your phone. On cue, it buzzed. He read the message, swearing under his breath. The Wilson account just pulled out, didn't they? I moved to the door. Funny how quickly things fall apart when people start asking questions about money. You've ruined everything. No, Carrie, I just played by your rules. I paused in the doorway. Oh, and don't forget, store openings next week. Bring Ivy. We can discuss family business. As I left, I heard him throwing something across the room. My phone lit up with another text from Reginald. Ivy's asking questions about the expansion funding. Game, set, match. The morning of Evolved's grand opening, I arrived early to find Carrie waiting outside. Cute store, he said, voice dripping with sarcasm. Though I'm surprised you had the guts to show up today. Why? Because Ivy's lawyers are circling? I unlocked the door. Or because your expansion plans fell through? He followed me inside. You have no idea what you've done. Actually, I do. I flipped on the lights, illuminating the packed racks and gleaming displays. I built something real, unlike your house of cards. Is that what you think this is? He gestured around. You stole my wife's money to play dress up. Like you stole my inheritance to play businessman? I checked my watch. Speaking of Ivy, where is she? Meeting with divorce lawyers. That made me pause. What? Congratulations, sis. Carrie's laugh was hollow. You didn't just ruin my business, you ruined my marriage. Before I could respond, Mom burst through the door. Stop this. She looked between us. Both of you, just stop. Mom, we both started. No, she held up her hand. I've watched you two destroy each other for years. But this, using Ivy, stealing money, what would Grandma say? Ask Carrie, I snapped. He's the one who... Who what? A new voice cut in. Ivy stood in the doorway, looking exhausted. Who stole from family first? Does it even matter anymore? She walked in slowly, touching the clothes as she passed. You know what's funny? This stuff is actually good. Really good. Ivy, Carrie stepped toward her. Don't. She turned to me. You were right about the Wilson account. About all of it. Carrie's face darkened. We can explain. Explain what? Ivy's voice rose. How you used my savings to fund your expansion? Or how you knew about my family's money all along? Mom sank into a nearby chair. Carrie, what is she talking about? He knew, Ivy said quietly, about the money I took from my family's business. He helped me hide it. And then helped himself to it, I added. Shut up. Carrie slammed his fist on a display table. Several hangers rattled. Or what? I stepped closer. You'll steal from me again? Frame me for something? Face it, Carrie, you're not in control anymore. Neither are you. He pulled out his phone. One call to the police about Ivy's stolen money. Go ahead. Ivy crossed her arms. Tell them how you facilitated embezzlement. I'm sure your investors would love to hear that story. The store fell silent. Outside, I could see people gathering for the opening. So what now? Mom's voice was barely a whisper. Now, I moved to unlock the front door. I opened my store, built with Carrie's stolen inheritance, funded by Ivy's hidden savings. Poetic justice, don't you think? You're just like him, Mom said. No, I turned back. I'm better because I'm not hiding what I did. Every penny is accounted for, invested in something real. She's right, Ivy said suddenly. At least she built something. All we did was buy things. Carrie's phone buzzed again. His face fell as he read the message. The board wants an emergency meeting. He looked up, defeated. They know about the Wilson account. Of course they do. I checked my lipstick in a mirror. I sent them the proof this morning. You what? Along with documentation about Ivy's money? I smiled. I learned from the best, remember? Always keep receipts. The crowd outside was growing. Anne appeared at the door, giving me a thumbs up. You should go, I told Carrie. Your board's waiting. Oh, and you might want to call your realtor. That house on Maple Drive might be a bit out of your price range soon. He stormed out, shoulder-checking a mannequin on his way. I'll talk to him, Mom sighed, following. Ivy lingered, looking lost. What happens now? Now? I handed her a business card. You call my lawyer. She specializes in financial fraud cases. Maybe we can work something out. Why would you help me? Because unlike Carrie, I know the difference between revenge and destruction. I straightened a display. Besides, someone needs to testify about where all that money really went. She nodded slowly, tucking the card into her purse. Your grandmother would be proud, you know, not of how you did it, but of this. She gestured at the store. I know. I moved to open the doors. That's why I did it. As Ivy left, Anne appeared beside me. Ready? I looked around my store, my dream built on stolen dreams, my success funded by others' secrets. Ready? The doors opened and the crowd poured in. Outside, I could see Carrie in his car, watching. Let him watch. Let him see what his little sister could really do. Sometimes the best revenge isn't just success. It's success they can't look away from. 3 months after Evolved's opening, I sat across from Ivy in a downtown coffee shop, sliding a check across the table. First quarter profits, I said. Your share, as agreed. She stared at the amount. This is more than I expected. Turns out, sustainable fashion sells better than Carrie's real estate schemes. I sipped my latte. Speaking of which, the divorce is final next week. Ivy twisted her wedding ring. The house is on the market. And the board meeting? They voted him out yesterday. She looked up. Did you know that would happen? Before I could answer, my phone buzzed with a text from Reginald. Carrie's here at the bank, making threats. Excuse me. I stood up. I need to handle something. The bank was only 2 blocks away. I found Carrie in Reginald's office, red-faced and shouting. You helped her destroy me. Lower your voice, Reginald said calmly, or I'll call security. Don't bother, I stepped in. He's leaving. Carrie spun around. You? You think you've won? Won what? I perched on Reginald's desk. The game you started? The one where you stole my inheritance? I was protecting you. No, I stood up straight. You were controlling me, like you controlled Ivy, like you tried to control everything. And now look, he gestured wildly. The company's gone, the house is gone, Ivy's gone. But your freedom isn't. I moved closer. Yet, unless you want me to press charges about the inheritance fraud, his face paled. You wouldn't. Try me. I pulled out my phone. I have the lawyer on speed dial. The fight seemed to drain out of him. He sank into a chair, suddenly looking older. What do you want? Sign over your remaining shares in Evolved. I'd given him a minority stake as part of our settlement. Walk away completely. That's worth less than jail time. I finished. Choose wisely, big brother. Reginald silently slid the paperwork across his desk. Carrie stared at it for a long moment. You really did it, he said quietly. Built something real. No thanks to you. He signed the papers without another word. As he stood to leave, he paused. Mom wants us all for dinner next week. I'll think about it. After he left, Reginald let out a low whistle. That was intense, but necessary. I gathered the signed documents. How's the new account looking? He pulled up the numbers on his screen. Evolved's growth is steady. You'll be able to open the second location ahead of schedule. My phone buzzed again, and this time. Get back here, she said when I answered. The investors are early. The store was packed when I arrived. Anne had arranged a meeting with potential investors for our expansion plans. There she is, Anne waved me over. I was just showing them the sales projections. Impressive numbers, one investor said, especially for a first-time entrepreneur. I had good motivation. I launched into my pitch, the one I'd practiced countless times. But this time, it wasn't just a dream. It was backed by solid success. Halfway through, I spotted Mom through the window, hovering uncertainly outside. I excused myself. I wasn't sure if I should come in, she said when I opened the door. Why not? It's a store, Mom. Open to everyone. She looked around, taking in the bustling atmosphere. I saw Carrie today. So did I. He told me what happened at the bank. She touched a silk blouse. Is this really what you wanted? To take everything from him? No. I straightened a display. I wanted what was rightfully mine. He's the one who made it about taking things. And Ivy is better off. I checked my watch. Look, Mom, I have investors waiting. Of course. She started to leave, then turned back. Your grandmother would have handled this differently. Maybe. I met her eyes. But she's not here because of choices Carrie made. Mom flinched. Dinner next week? I'll bring dessert. Back inside, the investors were ready with their decision. Anne's smile told me everything I needed to know. Congratulations. The lead investor extended his hand. We'd love to be part of Evolved's future. As I shook his hand, I caught my reflection in the store window. I looked different, stronger, more confident. No longer the little sister living in anyone's shadow. My phone lit up with a final text from Ivy. Thank you for everything. Sometimes revenge doesn't end the way you expect. Sometimes it opens doors you never knew existed. And sometimes, just sometimes, it helps you evolve into exactly who you were meant to be. The family dinner felt different this time. Mom had set the table with regular plates instead of Grandma's china. Carrie sat quietly, picking at his food. Ivy's empty chair spoke volumes. The meatloaf is good, I offered, breaking the silence. Your grandmother's recipe, Mom said softly. Carrie's fork clattered against his plate. Can we not? Not what? I set down my glass. Talk about Grandma? Or about how you used her money? Stephanie, Mom warned. No, let's talk about it. Carrie pushed his plate away. You got what you wanted, right? The store, the investors, everything. I got what I earned. I leaned forward. The difference is, I built something real, something that helps people. By stealing from Ivy? By giving her a way out. I pulled an envelope from my purse. Speaking of which, I slid it across the table. Carrie opened it, his eyes widening at the check inside. What's this? Your half of Grandma's inheritance, plus interest. I watched his face. I'm not you, Carrie. I don't need to keep what isn't mine. Mom's hand flew to her mouth. Stephanie, the store's doing well enough to pay it back. I turned to her, and there's something else. I pulled out a second envelope. Grandma's house. I bought it back from the bank. But Carrie sold it months ago, Mom whispered, and now it's yours again. I handed her the deed. No strings attached. Carrie stood up abruptly, his chair scraping the floor. Why are you doing this? Because someone needs to break the cycle. I stood too. And because Grandma taught me that family means more than money. Even after everything I did? Especially after everything you did. I moved to the window, looking out at the garden Grandma had loved. You taught me how to fight, Carrie, but she taught me how to forgive. The doorbell rang. Mom answered it, returning with Ivy. Sorry I'm late, she said, hovering in the doorway. I brought dessert. Carrie started to leave, but I caught his arm. Stay, please. We all sat down again, the tension thick but different now. Ivy served her apple pie. Grandma's recipe, I realized with a start. I have news, she said, cutting slices. The investigation into my family's business is over, no charges. Because of your testimony? Carrie asked quietly. She nodded. And because of Stephanie's help. The lawyer I recommended, I explained, she specialized in financial restitution. Speaking of restitution, Carrie pulled out the check I'd given him. I can't accept this. You can. I pushed it back. Use it to start over, the right way this time. I don't deserve. It's not about deserving. I cut him off. It's about choosing to be better. Mom reached for both our hands. Your grandmother would be proud of both of you. Both? Carrie looked skeptical. You're here, aren't you? I smiled slightly. Facing what you did, that's a start. Ivy served the pie, and slowly the conversation shifted. We talked about Evolved's expansion plans, about Carrie's job interviews, about Mom's garden. Real things, honest things. As the evening wound down, Carrie pulled me aside. I never said I was sorry, he said, for any of it. I know. I was so focused on winning, on being the successful one. He trailed off. That you forgot how to just be a brother? He nodded, looking down at the check in his hand. I don't know how to fix this. Start by fixing yourself. I touched his arm. The rest will follow. Later, standing in Grandma's garden with Mom and Ivy, I felt something shift. Not forgiveness exactly. That would take time. But understanding, maybe. The kind that comes from seeing the whole board, not just your own moves. What happens now? Mom asked, pruning a rose bush. Now? I looked at the house, at Carrie through the window, at the family we were trying to rebuild. Now we grow, together. Ivy squeezed my hand. Like your store? Like everything, I smiled. One piece at a time. The evening air was sweet with roses, Grandma's roses, blooming again after all this time. Some things, I realized, never really die. They just wait for the right moment to return, stronger than before. My phone buzzed with a message from Anne. Second location's ready when you are. I typed back, tomorrow, tonight's for family. Because sometimes the best revenge isn't revenge at all. Sometimes it's showing them a better way. Sometimes it's coming home.